When I walked out of my business meeting in Singapore, I received a message that my wife had emptied our joint account and filed for divorce. 5 minutes later, I had already activated my Plan B. My name is James Wilson, a 42-year-old international marketing consultant. I have a 14-year marriage and a 14-year-old son. I travel to about 16 countries annually. My job is to develop market expansion strategies for large corporations. I met my wife Sarah at a friend's party in Boston in 2010. She was an elementary school teacher at the time. Despite my frequent travel, I always thought we had a solid marriage. After our son Tyler was born, Sarah continued to support my career. "This is your job, James," she would say. "You're building a better future for us." However, in the past few years, especially after the pandemic, our family dynamics began to change. Because I spent less time at home, my bond with Tyler had started to weaken. Meanwhile, Sarah was becoming increasingly independent. Things had changed even more over the last year. Sarah had started keeping her phone locked, texting late at night, and not only objecting less to my trips, but actively encouraging them. "Stay 2 weeks on this Hong Kong trip. It's a good opportunity," she would say. "Tyler and I will manage, don't worry." Our son Tyler's basketball practice had increased, and Sarah was constantly taking him to practices and returning late. "Coach Michael is doing extra training. Tyler has great potential," she would say each time. Initially, I thought this was normal. After all, every parent wants their child to succeed, right? But Sarah's behavior changes were becoming more obvious. The special dinners we used to have when I returned from trips were gone. When we talked on the phone, Sarah always seemed in a rush. "Can't talk now, taking Tyler to practice." Or, "Michael invited us to dinner to discuss training strategy." I didn't need to be a detective, but I hadn't hired a private investigator either. I don't act hastily in these situations. Instead, I quietly took some precautions. First, I started depositing part of my salary into a separate account that Sarah didn't know about. It was an account I had opened in Singapore, which was easy to set up given my international work. I moved our important documents and family heirlooms to a storage unit across town. My father's antique watch collection, my mother's jewelry, and other valuable items were now safe. I also kept a copy of our house deed and other important documents in a secure place. Additionally, I might have seemed paranoid, but I installed hidden security cameras in our home. I told Sarah it was for work security, which was true, but it also allowed me to monitor what was happening at home. I could view the camera feeds remotely and check them from my cell phone at any time. Before my Singapore meeting, I had a strange feeling. My phone call with Sarah had been unusually brief, and she hadn't even wanted me to speak with our son. "He's training right now. Let's not disturb him," she said. That night in my hotel room, I checked the security cameras watching our home. Cameras Sarah didn't know I had installed. I wasn't surprised. Sarah was in our kitchen with a man I didn't recognize. Looking more carefully, I realized the man was Tyler's basketball coach, Michael. He had his arm around Sarah's waist and was drinking my whiskey. Sarah was laughing, moving closer to him. Then they moved to the living room with hours to go before Tyler would return from school. I closed the video and looked out the window. Singapore's night lights glittered in the hotel room. I wasn't angry, just sad. Would our 14-year marriage really end because of a basketball coach? The next day, I tried to focus on my meetings. We were about to sign a major deal with a Chinese company, and I needed to concentrate. But my mind kept drifting to the situation at home. During a break, I checked my phone and looked at our account activity. Sarah had made 3 large withdrawals in the past week, amounts too large for regular shopping. 3 days later, as I was leaving my final meeting in Singapore, I received a notification on my phone. Sarah had withdrawn the last $146,000 from our joint account. Then a message followed. "James, our marriage is over. Tyler and I deserve someone who shares our values. Please don't come home. I've stored your things. My lawyer will contact you." I read the message twice. Someone who shares our values. She was referring to Michael. And what did she mean by, "I've stored your things"? Was I being kicked out of my own home? I didn't panic. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. Instead, I returned to the hotel and opened my laptop. What Sarah didn't know was that besides our joint accounts, I had overseas accounts and an investment portfolio worth about 4 years of my salary. For the past 3 years, I had been transferring a significant portion of each paycheck to these accounts, always saying it was for a rainy day. What was even more shocking was that our house mortgage was in my name, and the information I found about Sarah's new boyfriend. On a hunch, I had done a quick search and found Michael Bennett's identity. Michael Bennett had a criminal record in 3 different states, 2 fraud cases, 1 identity theft, and restraining orders from 3 different women. The school where he worked as a basketball coach wasn't aware of this. The information in his resume was completely fabricated. Sarah leaving me for this man concerned me more than it angered me. My son was in danger. I tried to call my son, but Sarah had turned off her phone. Tyler didn't have his own phone yet. Sarah and I had disagreed on this. I wanted to give him one, but Sarah thought he was too young. Before boarding the evening flight, I called my lawyer, James Briggs. Sarah emptied the accounts and left me. But the main issue is that the man she's with has a criminal record and is close to my son, I said. James listened quietly, then said, "Stay calm and don't do anything. I'll start the necessary procedures. Come see me when you get home." On the plane, I started making a plan. I wouldn't act emotionally. I would move smart and strategically. My priority was Tyler's safety, then my financial situation and my home. If Sarah tried to steal the life I had provided, I would defend my rights through legal channels. When I got home, as I expected, Sarah and Michael were living in our, technically now my, home. I didn't knock. I used my key. They were watching TV in the living room. Sarah was shocked. "James, I messaged you. You weren't supposed to come here." "I didn't know I was banned from coming to my own home," I said calmly, then turned to Michael. "Where is Tyler?" Michael stood up, positioning himself behind Sarah to avoid eye contact with me. "Tyler is staying at a friend's. Listen, man, don't make things difficult. Sarah wants to leave you. Accept it." I smiled. My problem isn't Sarah's decision. My problem is having a convicted fraudster near my son. Sarah's face turned white. "What are you talking about?" Michael jumped in. "He's talking nonsense. I'm a clean guy." I took out my phone and showed them the screen. Michael Bennett. Identity theft in Colorado in 2018, fraud in Nevada in 2020, breaking and entering in Washington in 2022, and restraining orders from 3 different women. I wonder if the school administration knows about this. Sarah looked at Michael with fear. Michael's face tensed. "This is slander. It's all a misunderstanding." "What's even more interesting," I continued, "is that part of our joint account money was transferred to a casino in Nevada yesterday. Was this your idea, Sarah, or did Michael convince you?" Sarah turned to Michael in shock. You gambled with our money?" "Just an investment," Michael stammered. "I want you out of my house within 24 hours, I said. "During this time, I'll come to get my things and my son. Sarah, I want you to understand exactly what you've done. You've put not just me, but our son in danger too." I left the house and went straight to James's office. Together, we determined our strategy. First Tyler's safety, then financial matters. 2 days later, my lawyer and I filed for emergency custody. It wasn't based on Sarah's infidelity, but on Michael's criminal record and the danger he posed to my son. At the same time, we filed a court petition regarding the joint accounts Sarah had emptied. The security cameras and account movements provided strong evidence. I watched Sarah as she packed her things. Michael was already gone, probably taking what was left of Sarah's money. "How could I have been so stupid?" Sarah asked, her eyes tearful. "He told me a completely different story. He said you were cheating on me, that you had secret accounts. And you believed him without questioning," I said calmly. "You ended our 14-year marriage with a 3-minute conversation." "I was so lonely, James. You were always working, always traveling. Tyler and I saw you so rarely." "That's not an excuse for cheating, Sarah. If there were problems in our marriage, We could have talked about them, but you chose to stab me in the back. Within a week, Tyler's temporary custody was granted to me. Sarah was furious, but surprisingly, Michael was nowhere to be found. When we had Sarah's bank accounts checked, we learned that Michael had withdrawn most of the remaining money and disappeared. I realized Sarah wasn't an accomplice, but a victim. That night, I had a long talk with Tyler. My son was crying. Coach Michael always told me you were a bad father. He said you didn't treat Mom well, that you were planning to leave us. I started to believe him. I hugged my son. I would never leave you, Tyler. You're the meaning of my life. Yes, I work a lot, maybe too much, but it's always been for your future. What will happen to Mom now? He asked. Your mom is still your mom and you love her. That will never change. Right now she's going through a difficult time, but everything will get better, I promise. 3 months later, our divorce was finalized. I received 70% of the house and full custody of Tyler. Sarah had regular visitation rights, but initially under supervision. She had to repay part of the money she had taken from joint accounts, but the court was understanding given that she had been defrauded by Michael. Michael was later caught in Nevada. It turned out he had defrauded not just us, but other women as well. He had robbed 11 women with the same tactic. All were single mothers or women whose husbands traveled frequently. One morning, as I was preparing breakfast, there was a knock at the door. It was Sarah. "Can we talk?" she asked, her eyes red. We went to the kitchen. Tyler wasn't awake yet. Sarah finally apologized. "James, I don't know how I could have been so stupid. I believed what Michael said about you without checking, without researching who he was. I was overwhelmed by your frequent travel, but this wasn't the solution." "No, it wasn't," I said. "But that's in the past now. We need to continue being good parents for Tyler." "Can you ever forgive me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Maybe with time," I said. "But right now, Tyler is what matters. He should be our priority." A year later, I transferred to my company's Houston office. Tyler and I started a new life. Sarah stayed in the city, regularly seeing our son and slowly regaining my trust. Michael was caught in Nevada, not just with our money, but it turned out he had defrauded other women as well. My relationship with Tyler was stronger than ever. I was traveling less now and working more from home. I didn't miss his basketball games, and we went camping together on weekends. My relationship with Sarah was slowly improving too. We could cooperate as parents. Sometimes people ask me, "How did you stay so calm? Why weren't you angry? Why didn't you seek revenge?" My answer is simple. Because the best revenge is staying calm and thinking strategically. The moment you lose control, you give the other side what they want. If I had shouted and yelled when I returned home, maybe Sarah could have accused me of being violent. If I had filed a lawsuit immediately, maybe Michael would have had time to escape. I waited, prepared, and acted at the right moment. Sarah is now dating a young doctor. They have a serious relationship. The man treats Tyler well and knows our history. Sarah has told me several times, "I wish I hadn't lost you, but at least I know you're a good father." Today, Tyler is 16 and preparing for national team tryouts. Sarah is moving on with her life. She's currently in a good relationship and trying to be a good mother to Tyler. I've reduced my travels and spend more time with my son. Sometimes events that seem like the biggest defeats in life actually open the door to a new beginning. What matters is not to panic, to think strategically, and to always have a plan B. Because life hits you when you're caught unprepared. Life goes on and we move forward with it. Stronger, wiser, and perhaps more understanding. Sometimes the darkest times bring the brightest illuminations.